Hi, I'm Meredith.
I'm Silpitha. And I'm Emily. And we did an internship with Orange County Solid Waste Management in the Recycling Stars program this semester.
So, the purpose of the Recycling Stars program is to create awareness of the need to recycle right and also reduce the overall contamination rate in the county's single-family curbside recycling. So, how this program works is we will evaluate recycling carts on collection day 4 times and record the volume of recyclables and any presence of contaminants. And after evaluating each cart, we give them one of three ratings, either a star, a light, or an oops. And this is based on like the number of contaminants that they have. And if you get a star, you get a sticker on your recycling cart, along with a letter. And if you get an oops, you get a tag on your recycling, and your recycling is not going to be picked up um, until you remove the contaminants.
So some of the duties and responsibilities of this position included creating routes. So we would go through urban and rural neighborhoods around the county and try to or create routes that like we of about 120 to 150 homes to evaluate. And this was on different days at different locations in the county. Um, and another part of this was the evaluation of recycling carts. And this was, as previously mentioned, examining how many contaminants they had within their carts, and the number of that, and as well as the magnitude of the contamination, whether it was a single-use cup or a plastic bag, was something that was taken into account. And then from this, we analyzed this data through putting the information we took during evaluations into a spreadsheet and then analyzing this through a variety of means. And then all around this entire process, we assisted with outreach and education efforts, whether that was through stickering the carts, which we will get to, or discussing the program with the residents themselves. So, stickering, as I mentioned before, was done as an introductory component to this program, in which we would go to the routes that we had designated before and set this sticker up, as you can see on the slide, as well as a no plastic bags sticker, and then an introductory letter to the program, so that residents could be offered a chance to educate themselves as well as get other materials to and like venues of learning how to recycle properly. And then the next process was evaluating the carts. And so here you can see Meredith putting a sticker or a star sticker on the cart because the cart just did so great and had so little contamination. And then afterwards, we would put this evaluation data into the Excel sheet, which was then analyzed for trends.
So when we finished our 9 routes, there we saw that out of the all of the houses included on those routes, 84.1% of carts were evaluated at least once. And then that made up 921 carts that we evaluated. So that is our sample size for these upcoming statistics. Our first statistic was plastic bags or wrap contamination because the presence of those contaminants was an automatic oops, and the reason that it's so important is because that tangles the machines at the materials recovery facility and therefore makes it more difficult to have good recycling that's coming in that's not contaminated be recycled. And you can see the 9 routes all generally decreased over time with an average of a 16% decrease in that kind of plastic contamination. And there was also a good significance level of 0.0046. Next, we had our clamshell containers. The contamination by clamshells does not ruin the other materials in someone's cart, so we did not punish them for having that material, and it's also a new policy by Orange County, so we wanted to give people a chance to have that learning curve happen without a penalty. So that is a good comparison and how penalties work versus just educational materials. And in this case, there was a 20% decrease in contamination and a significance level of 0.009 for across the 9 routes.
So as far as skills gained, one of the skills that I feel like I gained was database management, and just knowing how to make or organize data in a more efficient way. So in this internship, one of the things that we did was like redesign the collection forms and the data spreadsheets to include the most popular contaminants at the top of the spreadsheet. And we made them into checkboxes. So it was just easier for us to like check for specific contaminants. And then we also created drop-down menus for the Starlight and Oops ratings, and then also the percentage full for the carts. And this just helps reduce, human error when like entering data. And yeah, it was, I feel like I have learned how to just make database management more efficient.
Another skill that we gained for this position was general recycling knowledge. So personally, I am from an area with like very different rules in recycling than Orange County, and so being able to learn like what can and cannot be recycled in this specific county was really cool. And furthermore, just learning about like the general recycling process. So how like a change in businesses that will take, like clamshells or something, like completely redoes or alters the entire recycling process in terms of what is considered contamination and what's not. And as well as like why things like clamshells or single-use plastics might not be taken in since they're considered like cheaper material and like less quality. That's not really something that I took into account before. And so that was just kind of a really cool thing to be able to learn through this process.
Another big component of this internship was education and outreach. So whenever we went on those evaluation routes, we were often approached by residents who were wondering, what are you doing in my recycling cart? And there was a range of reactions from some eagerness to learn, and very good questions that we might not be able to answer just in the materials that we're leaving on their cart. And sometimes there was some frustration, and so we learned how to navigate that as well, which I think is a valuable skill for me in the future. And we also communicated with them through those educational materials. We wrote notes specifically for the contaminants that they had to let them know this is what you can do to improve next time. And lastly, we did the data analysis that we presented earlier. So that was a good experience because it was a data set that we personally collected. I haven't always had experiences in analyzing data that is my own. Usually it's practicing on some random data set. So it was really cool to be part of the whole process from collection to analysis, and also to decide some of the nitty-gritty of what is going to count as an oops or a light or a star to create that criteria for analysis.
So we would like to thank our mentor, Rachel Potts, and our supervisor, Cheryl Young, as well as Caroline Hausler, Lynn Cha, Blair Pollock, and Jody Emmers. Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions?